A Brief History of Humankind, Sapiens, by Yuval Noah Harari. Humans have evolved throughout the millennia and are now taking over the world with the progress and advancements they had established. Their history has been shaped by three major revolutions, namely the cognitive revolution, agricultural revolution, and the scientific revolution. This enabled humans to eventually overcome the laws of natural selection as they gradually move closer to being the gods of the world.
The text regarding timeline revolves on how everything started, from the appearance of matter, energy, molecules, and atoms, and the beginning of physics and chemistry, then followed by the formation of Earth through the Big Bang, and then eventually the emergence of organisms after the introduction of the last common grandmother of humans and chimpanzees. Afterwards, evolution of genus Homo in Africa and the invention of first stone tools. Eventually, humans spread from Africa to Eurasia, evolution of different human species, until reach the present time in which humans transcend the boundaries of planet Earth. Nuclear weapons threaten the survival of humankind. Organisms are increasingly shaped by intelligence design rather than natural selection. At the end of the timeline, the author leaves a question for the future. Is intelligent design becomes the basic principle of life? How Homo sapiens is replaced by superhumans? Move on to the part 1 of the cognitive revolution. To begin with, an animal of no significance discusses the beginning of organisms. It tackles different similarities of Homo sapiens to other living organisms in terms of behavior, like anxious mother cuddling their babies, clashes of carefree children playing in the mud, breast local beauty, etc. All members of a family trace their linkage back to a founding matriarch or patriarch. All cats, for example, from the smallest house kitten to the most furious lion, share a common feline ancestor who lived about 25 million years ago. Homo sapiens long preferred to view themselves as set apart from animals, an orphan bereaved of family, lacking siblings or cousins, and most importantly, without parents. But that's just not the case. It is not, we are members of the large particular noisy family called great apes. Our closest living relatives includes chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutans. Furthermore, the tree of knowledge deals with how the sapiens brain developed and improved via genetics at the tree of knowledge mutation, in which, due to the special abilities of sapiens to connect unlimited numbers of sounds and signs to produce an infinite numbers of sentences, each with a distinct meaning. Additionally, Homo sapiens are a social animal. Social cooperation is our key to survive and reproduce. Additionally, the text A Day in the Life of Adam and Eve tackles the difference between present generation and their hunter-gatherers ancestors, in which the current generation enjoys easy access and resourceful life without even exerting too much effort. Because of having advanced, like their hunter-gatherers ancestors, they exert too much effort in hunting and gathering their food and other resources they need. For the highlight of the particular topic, the chapter Cause of Thinking highlighted how Homo sapiens, a middle-class predator, jumps to the top of the food chain, which it caused an enormous consequence, which the ecosystem was not given enough time to adjust the quick jump of Homo sapiens. Humans themselves fail to adjust as well. We are full of fears and anxiety over our position, which makes us doubly cruel and dangerous. Many historical calamities, from deadly wars to ecological catastrophes, have resulted from over-hasty jumps.
The flaw that Harari indicates are the Homo sapiens because of the mass extinction that we caused last 70,000 years ago. Rather than saving, we tend to drown megafauna or big creatures just to cater our hunger. Harari also describes Homo sapiens as the deadliest species in the annals of biology, because we humans are the reason why extinction of large creatures occurs swiftly. Every time Homo sapiens first stepped at a new site, mass extinction occurred. Some scholars tend to exonerate Homo sapiens and throw faults on climate change on why mass extinction manifested during those times. But the truth is, long before the Industrial Revolution, Homo sapiens held the record among all organisms for driving the most plant and animal species to their extinctions. Personally, Homo sapiens last 70,000 years ago were not obviously educated and don't have any knowledge on proper consumption and production. That is why mass extinction occurred during those times. Many scholars depict the agricultural revolution as a giant leap forward for humankind, but Harari disagrees. Harari insisted that it was history's biggest fraud because the hunter-gatherers have more knowledge than the farmers. Harari stated that the agricultural revolution is more miserable than being foragers or hunter-gatherers because it did not offer a better diet. Rather, many humankind have suffered from diseases and malnourishment because of lack of meat intake, which has a great source of proteins. The protein boosts immune system. Farmers are responsible for the safety of the wheat because it is their food source. Protecting it from the other humankind also created human violence in which a group of farmers fought another group of farmers to make the field be with their hands. The majority of deaths were reported to be male. The phrase building pyramids refers to the creation of social classes rather than the actual pyramids. Harari suggests that humans are organized according to social position in this chapter. The wealthy belong to a powerful and privileged class in society. The chapter is a representation to the socio-economic classes to which individuals currently belong, where the wealthy are seen as privileged, powerful, and important. Low-class and disadvantaged individuals can be located at the base of the pyramid. Given the size of the pyramid's base, it is clear that the bulk of people were submissive to the pyramid's highest levels.
The highlighting part of this book is the chapter of The Scent of Money about shells and cigarettes, which highlighted the importance of trust in the functioning of money and how money enables the exchange, storage, and transport of wealth. Money can take various forms, not just coins and banknotes. Throughout history, different objects such as shells, cattle, skin, salt, grain, beads, cloth, and even cigarettes have been used as currency. The shared belief in money facilitated trade and economic growth. It suggests that the belief in money is a unifying factor in human societies, bridging cultural gap and enabling cooperation among strangers. The text regarding part of agricultural revolution memory overload discussed the evolution of human brain towards the society and the role of writing in enabling complex social structures, in which large Roman societies require handling and storing vast amounts of information with the use of Sumerian script to Arabic numerals. Whereas the next passage, there is no justice in history, discusses the concept of human hierarchy and unjust discrimination throughout human history. The vicious circle of discrimination is described, where social and economic disadvantages are happening over generation to generation. Moving on to the part 3 of Unification of Humankind, R of History mainly talks about the direction in which human culture have evolved over time, wherein globalization has transformed cuisines and its integration into the culinary tradition of another. Religion and merchant trading started to spread and influence one another as well. Then, The Scent of Money discussed the history and significance of money in human societies, emphasis on the historical development of money, from the use of barley as a standardized measure to the introduction of coins with standardized weights and mark of authority. This shows the importance of trust in the value of money, the role of political and social institutions in maintaining that trust to form an alliance. Text
Chapter 11 talks about the relevance of how empires were created and their impact to our evolution. To start with, according to the book, yung empire na di makapag-sustain ng blow or attacks, kahit nanatiling nakatayo ay di maituturing na empire. One of the wars na nag-caught ng attention ko is the Numantians. When they burned down their town and according to Roman accounts, they took massive suicide para lang di sila maging Roman slaves. Moreover, sa pagbagsak din ng mga empire, nag-iwan sila ng significant marks like rich and enduring legacies. Tinalakay din sa chapter na to yung classifications na dapat ma-meet to call an empire an empire. Unfortunately, the only thing to make an empire survive is through survival of the fittest. That means they need to go bloody wars, enslavements, deportations, and see genocides so they can still replenish themselves. It was purely human violence, wars, and prejudice are the only things for the culture to assimilate. Also, according to the book, just like any other species, Homo sapiens are xenophobic creatures, meaning humans have prejudice towards each other. To establish harmony, standardization must be ruled out for uniformity. Chapter 12 entirely talks about how religious beliefs affect our evolution. The evolution of polytheism or believing in different gods to monotheism is tackled also. The battle is bloody to stay dominant over other religion is also established. Due to religious differences, it killed many people by the dominant ones. Over time, mas nanaig ang monotheist idea rather than polytheistic religion. In order to stay superior, monotheists used violence to stay at the top. They succeeded by dominating and spreading their belief all through parts of the world. So hindi lang monotheism yung na-produce ng polytheism, kundi dualism din. In this book, also it tackled the dilemma of religion. For instance, inaalaw ni God yung suffering so people have the free will. Kung walang evilness, di makakapili ang tao between good and bad, which means walang free will. Parang sa hayop, di ba? Wala silang ganito, therefore wala silang free will to like us, Homo sapiens. Syncretism naman ang tawag sa pag-combine ng mga rituals and practices na contradictory to each other but falls into one ideology. The 13th chapter talks about the success of dominant events in our history as Homo sapiens. The making of history is unpredictable. The people or the events in history take sudden unexpected shift which actually makes a huge difference today. If we apply the butterfly effect, one unnoticeable move or decision can actually make a huge entire change or difference, and that no one actually anticipated. History is an academic discipline where the more you know, the more it gets harder to explain why things the way happened. Hindi natin pwede explain ng buo sa determinism perspective ang history dahil ito ay masyadong malawak at chaotic. No one actually predicted that things happened in the history. Some scholars see cultures as some sort of mental infection that invades humans' thinking process. They are referred to as mental parasites that emerge accidentally and overtaking the people's minds.
The highlight of the first 4 parts in Chapter 4 draws attention to the scientific revolution that it tears down the myths of the Homo sapiens along with the ignorance, how power arose from information and how it was used in scientific and technical field. For its outline, the content covers how humans believe in themselves, that they can get new power through research as a continuation of cognitive revolution. In addition, the aforementioned century involved the field of mathematics and statistics which has been put into table where religion creates gap. It also addresses the central idea that science provided us multiple variety of tools and technology that are being utilized in political, social, medical, and economic contexts. Examples include weapons, medicines, personal items, business items, and even machinery that has been made from power which has been discovered in the same time and is intended to be used for beneficial purposes. It persisted in the idea that knowledge is only powerful if it empowers us. The Gilgamesh Project, which demonstrate that that is a technical issue rather than an unavoidable fate, has been mentioned as well. The solution, as the chapter said, is a creation of bionic system or bionic immune system that will turn us into immortals and will extend our lives beyond its typical limit. The revolution also shown in the various expeditions that even resulted in various conquests made by every country to obtain resources and land, which even reached the level of slavery and the killing of urban residents, as was the case in Tasmania where people were killed and yung skulls and skeletons nila ay dinisplay pa sa museum. And also, Truganini, the last native Tasmanian, kumuha pa ng sample ng kanyang hair and skin. It also demonstrates that imperial capitalism is a process of turning credit finance into new discoveries that will lead to colonies that will generate profits that will build trust and trust translated into more credit. And that science was supported by different institutions, not only by empires, leading to uncontrollable deeds in the service.
The Industrial Revolution caused significant and rapid changes in the lives of humans. The consumption of natural resources caused great destruction to our ecology. Along with it, people are made to be accustomed to schedules and timetables that must be strictly observed as if being cogs that must move for the machine to function. Moreover, families and communities have collapsed as the market and the state took over. Lastly, peace has become prevalent due to how wars have gone nuclear, making it impossible to seek domination without wiping out the entire humanity. The power that humans acquired has made the world they live in a cold, mechanistic world. However, there are ways in which people define happiness, one of which is the subjective well-being that pertains to how subjective expectations determine people's happiness. Meanwhile, biologists would argue that happiness lies within the chemical composition of our brain while also not disregarding external factors at some level. On the other hand, Buddhism proposes that pursuing fleeting sensations and feelings causes people to suffer. Knowing the truth about oneself is the key to happiness. In these modern times, the laws of natural selection which supposedly made humans incapable of surpassing their biologically determined limits were being broken. Biological engineering in cellular and nuclear levels has been feared for its potential to create so-called supermen, while the idea of reviving extinct species is within the grasp of genetic engineering as well. Meanwhile, cyborg engineering is also seeping into our everyday lives as it can replace lost biological functions, enhance already existing ones, and can even potentially make it so that our minds are combined in a singularity within the internet. Moreover, genetic programming has the potential to make non-organic entities capable of independent evolution after being created. Such advancements in different areas may mark the end of sapiens, by turning them into another entity that is still currently incomprehensible for us to imagine. Sapiens have made progress and advanced greatly from being a relatively insignificant animal 70,000 years ago. Today, they have acquired power that made them on the verge of being so-called gods. However, it remains unclear which direction they would traverse with the power they acquired, and with their discontentment and irresponsibility, they become extremely dangerous wielding their power. The chapter named The End of Homo sapiens tackles the possibilities that current scientific advancement can achieve further in the future. A part of those possibilities is the changing of Homo sapiens into something that is different and is still quite incomprehensible for us currently. This change would most likely become similar in a way to how we have evolved to our current species from a different species before.
Overall, I learned that the text explored the transformative role of writing and the evolution of human society in handling amount of information and how money becomes a unitarian object for every culture and race with same social and economic interest.
As to what I've learned that the financial momentum of capitalist businesses simply grew with each conquest, and about invest and buy into capitalist consumerist mentality. Capitalist hell has already occurred that time, demonstrating the mismatch between workload and work hours along with supply and demand where workers consigned to poverty and even killed by the industrial revolution. But capitalism is essential in our existence. I've learned that humans find new energy sources every few decades. All we need is the expertise to harness and transform them into what we need. Also, the problem of industrial agriculture is that it pays close attention to the physical requirements of animals while ignoring their emotional need. Lastly, consumerism persuades us that being thrifty is self-destructive and that being indulgent is healthy.
In this part, I learned a great deal about the scientific revolution and how the recent centuries have made significant and rapid changes in the lives of humans. The rate as well as the advancement of the changes are both eerie and fascinating for me, as they signify the remarkable progress that humans had established but also opens to a totally different and unusual future relative to the way we live in the present. Though, even with the many potential incomprehensible changes, there is still uncertainty surrounding humans and their acquired power due to certain factors that might halt or advance even further the progress that they are establishing.
I really thought that this book will bore me, but it's an easy read. It does not contain too much jargons, and I was able to grasp the essence of how human evolution worked to the development of our society, which entails that for over 1,000 years, humanity is on the top of everything and have begun to evolve and still evolving in accordance to survival and intelligence. Also, the idea is organized on how human ingenuity from historical primitive times perpetuating towards modern society in terms of thinking, crafting, and social structures. The examples given in the book are on point and easy to understand, so I definitely enjoy my time reading this one.
And for my impression, yes, it's evident that the Brief History of Humankind book has lots of pages. Nonetheless, we can get, or I got, lots of information from reading this particular book since it covered both positive and negative impacts as we age or as the humankind age habang involved yung science and technology along the way. So all in all, it has been a roller coaster yet magnificent experience to be one of the readers na itong book. Ang daming nag-make sense sa akin and I believe yung dendrites ko ngayon ay mas extended na and grabe na yung connection nila.
The book provided significant historical information basically encompassing the entirety of the evolution of Homo sapiens. This allows the reader to have more than sufficient knowledge about the history of our species as well as the scientific explanation discussing evolution in a technical way. The way the writer wrote the book also makes the information easier to digest and relate to the current knowledge of the readers. The explanations include examples and are related to pieces of information that are usually familiar to people in general, making it fairly easy to understand. Additionally, the inclusion of graphical illustrations made the book even more engaging than it already is.